Welcome back, everyone. Today's explainer is a massive one. We're taking a sweeping look at the grand narrative of human history. Specifically, we're diving into these intense, recurring cycles of human arrogance, divine warnings, and ultimately justice. So, if you've ever wanted to understand the profound patterns that shape the ancient world, and honestly, what they mean for us right now, you are in the exact right place. Let's get right into it.
Think about this for a second. Why did your fathers die, my brothers? They too had palaces, and they too had gardens and springs. But none of that helped them. None of it protected them. That's a direct, urgent question Prophet Salih asked the people of Thamud. And it hooks us right from the start, doesn't it? Because it lays out the absolute highest stakes of our story. We're talking about ancient societies that literally carved palaces out of solid mountains, acting like they were completely invincible. But, as we're going to see, all that stone and wealth, it offered zero protection against divine reality.
Moving into our first section, messengers from among mankind.
So, here's a question that always comes up, and it's actually derived straight from the arrogant dismissals of the ancient elites. Why didn't Allah just send angels? The wealthy and the powerful back then, they'd scoff and say, come on, this is only a man like ourselves. If God wanted to, he would have just sent down angels. They just couldn't wrap their heads around taking guidance from a regular, everyday human being, especially someone who didn't have massive armies or endless piles of gold.
But here's the crucial point we have to understand. Angels are an entirely different creation. Allah doesn't just whisper directly to every single person on earth to tell them what to do. Humanity actually needed relatable mortal guides. We needed men from among our own communities. Take Prophet Nuh, for example. He literally grew up playing with the people in his town long before receiving his prophecy. You see, a human messenger can actually demonstrate patience, they can struggle, and they can show faith in action in a way that a flawless angel just couldn't.
And honestly, this concept is completely foundational. Believing in the chosen prophets is actually one of the core pillars of Iman. It's a fundamental prerequisite to understanding divine truth. Acknowledging that the Creator specifically picked these mortal messengers to deliver his message, well, it's absolutely essential to grasping the faith itself.
All right, let's look at Section 2, the universal call. When you look back, there's this incredibly clear chronological succession in history. You have Nuh's community, which was then followed by the Ad, who were guided by Prophet Hud. And then the Ad were succeeded by the Thamud, guided by Prophet Salih. It's like a chain. Each nation literally inherited the earth from the one before it. They inherited the lush, green lands, the running rivers, and the immense physical strength of their predecessors. But unfortunately, they also inherited a really terrible habit of completely forgetting exactly who gave them those blessings in the first place.
Because of that amnesia, every single prophet had to stand up and echo this exact same universal call. O my people, worship Allah, you have no God but Him. From Nuh to Hud to Salih to Shu'aib, this was the core unifying demand. They were constantly reminding their people, hey, you're walking on Allah's earth, you're eating His provision, yet, absurdly, these nations kept crediting their blessings to statues and carved pieces of stone.
Now, it's important to note that the prophetic mission went way beyond just theology. Yes, it was about establishing Tawheed, the worship of one God, and abandoning stone idols, but it was also about radically transforming society. It demanded immense social justice. For instance, Prophet Shu'aib explicitly commanded his people in Midian to stop tampering with the weights and measures in their trade. He was warning them against cheating regular people and causing corruption in the land. True faith, as they taught it, demanded ethical, honest action in your daily life.
Which brings us to Section 3, arrogance of the elite.
There's a really fascinating juxtaposition we need to look at here. On one side, you have the prophets, who are just profoundly humble. They repeatedly pleaded with their people, saying, I don't ask you for a wage. My wage falls only on Allah. But on the flip side, you have the blinding arrogance of the societal elites. Completely intoxicated by their worldly success, they'd brag, we are more abundant in wealth than children, and we are not going to be punished. We see this exact attitude from Pharaoh's court all the way down to the wealthy leaders during the time of Prophet Asa. They were just completely dazzled by their own perceived power.
And because these elites couldn't actually attack the pure logic of the prophet's message, they just fell back on a predictable playbook of ancient excuses. The pattern recognition here is honestly striking. The disbelievers of Nuh, the Thamud, Pharaoh, they all literally use the exact same lines. They'd call the prophets only mortals, or dismiss them as sorcerers. They stubbornly clung to the religion of their fathers, and they constantly mocked the prophets simply because their followers were the everyday working-class people, the so-called lowest of society, who just wanted to eat lawfully earned food.
Moving on to Section 4, miracles and warnings.
So a perfect example of this prophetic logic in action is the story of Prophet Ibrahim. He actually used the skies above to logically prove a profound point to his people. And specifically, he was trying to get through to his own father, Azar, who was actually a famous seller of stone idols.
Let's walk through Ibrahim's brilliant, step-by-step destruction of nature worship. It's so incredibly smart. First, he sees a star rise, but when it sets, he says, "This is not my Lord." He does the exact same thing with the moon. And finally, when the mighty sun rises and then inevitably sets, he declares, "This is not my Lord. Allah is my Lord. He is always living and does not die. His light shines always and never dims." It's a masterclass in logic. He proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that creations that fade away, things that are overcome by the night, simply cannot be the all-powerful creator.
But, right alongside that brilliant logic was just unfathomable patience. And Prophet Nuh is the ultimate testament to this. Think about this. He called his people to the truth day and night for 950 years, nearly a millennium of constant mockery. Even as he was building this massive ark on dry land, and the elites were just laughing in his face, he kept going. And the tragedy runs so deep that even his own sons stubbornly refused to board the ark, convinced that some mountain was going to save him from the flood. It is just a heartbreaking reminder of exactly how blinding human arrogance can be.
Let's get into section 5 now. Divine justice and salvation.
This next part represents one of the absolute most chilling moments in human history. The people of Ad had been suffering through a brutal drought. So, when they saw a massive cloud rolling in, they were ecstatic. They were dancing, shouting, a rain cloud is coming." But Prophet Hud knew better. He had to deliver the devastating truth. This is not a cloud of mercy. It is a wind containing a painful punishment. And sure enough, it was a fierce, roaring tempest that literally uprooted trees and completely blotted out the sun. The overturning of these arrogant nations was sudden and it was absolute. For the Ad, like we just said, it was that devastating tempest. For the Thamud, the ones who literally carved unbreakable palaces into the sides of mountains, it was a great shout and a massive earthquake that ruined their homes in an instant. The corrupt merchants of Midian were seized by a quake, left lifeless in their dwellings like they have never even existed. And Pharaoh, with all his mighty, unstoppable armies, he simply drowned in the sea while trying to chase down Musa. At the end of the day, all their massive wealth, all their unchecked arrogance, it meant absolutely nothing.
But wait, there's actually a beautiful, really striking exception to this dark cycle. And that's the people of Nineveh, the community of Prophet Yunus. When they realized the divine warning was actually real, they didn't double down on their arrogance like the others. They did the unthinkable. They listened. They actually went out into the desert, men, women, children, even their flocks of animals, and they humbled themselves, sincerely begging for forgiveness. And because of that genuine, heartfelt repentance, the punishment was lifted. They were spared. It's amazing, because it proves that this fatal cycle of destruction can be broken by simple, genuine humility.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, the enduring legacy.
Now, this huge congregation of humanity we've been talking about, it represents way more than just ancient history. These aren't just old fables about people living in tents and carving up mountains. They are a timeless mirror. They reflect our own ongoing daily struggle with ego and arrogance. The exact same psychological traps that utterly destroyed the Ad and the Thamud. They are alive and well in our modern boardrooms, and our politics, and right in our personal lives today.
There's this incredibly profound piece of counsel that was given by a hidden believer right inside Pharaoh's court, and it just perfectly summarizes the core illusion that traps so many of us. This man realized his people were basically drunk on the pleasures of life, totally blinded by power. He stood up and warned them, "O my people, the life of this world is only a brief enjoyment. The next world is the lasting abode." He totally understood that all this worldly success is nothing but a fading shadow when you compare it to eternity.
So that leaves us with one final, really lingering question to think about. Are we too dazzled by the brief enjoyment of this world to actually hear the truth? When you look at all the comforts, all the crazy technology, and the wealth surrounding us today, are we just recycling the exact same excuses those ancient elites made? I want you to take that thought with you today. Take a hard look at your own modern-day distractions, and please remember the ultimate warning that history has laid out for us. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep seeking the truth.